This video is for the end of Chapter 2 in MTB 1370, when we are asked to find the percentage of a quantity. So, the key thing is the question will look something like this. They might be worded, what is 35% of 72? So they're going to ask you to find a certain percentage of a number, and you have to find that percentage of a number. Always use estimation in case your calculations go wrong. So for example, in this question it says, what is 35% of 72? You should realize that 35% is a tad more than 33%, which is 1/3. So this is asking you to find a little bit more than 1/3 of 72. So if you took 72 and took 1/3 of that, you're going to end up with 24. So our answer should be a little bit above the number 24. Another thing to be careful about is if you're finding a percentage of a number, your answer is just a decimal number. It's not a percent. It's just a number. In this case, since I'm only taking 35% of a number, it's going to be less than the number I started with. But if you took a percentage larger than 100% of a certain number, then your value you're going to get is going to be larger than the number that you started with. So, what you should do is take your percent and times it by the quantity, the number, the whole quantity. And to do that, what we do is we take our percent and we rewrite our percent as its equivalent decimal. And then times that decimal times the whole number, so we call it the base number. So in the example problem I gave you, it says, what is 35% of 72? One good way to do this is just convert it to an equation. When the word is what, that means you don't know what it is. Let it be a variable. Again, is in math means equals. 35% as a decimal, well, to convert a percent to a decimal, we get rid of the percent sign and we divide it by 100, which means the decimal point like 2 places to the left. So 35% is equivalent to 0.35. And in math, most of the time in math, of means to multiply by the whole, what they call the whole quantity, which is 72. So to find 35% of 72, all we do is we multiply 3,500, 0.35 times 72. So on your calculators, it's 0.35 times 72, and you get 25 and 2 tenths, 25 and 2 tenths, which, as we estimated, is a little bit longer than 24. So that's in the ballpark of what we expected there. So here's another example. It says, what is 12% of 48? So what means? We don't know it, so let it be X. Is means equals 12%. It's going to be a decimal. 0.12, because we get rid of the percent sign and divide by 100, which means the decimal point will go 2 places to the left when we divide by 100. Tells us to multiply by 4. This is exactly what they have here. 0.12, 1200 times 48. 0.12 times 48 is 5.76, which is not a percentage. It is just a number. So our value is the number 5.76. And again, you could have estimated this. 12% is near 10%, and 10% of 48 would just be 4.8. That's 10% of 48 is 4.8. So since we're taking 12% of 48, we should get a number larger than 4.8, which we did. We got 5.76. So as we said earlier, of in math generally means to multiply. So that of helps us to multiply the decimal equivalent of the percent times the whole quantity. A few more examples. it says 10% of 18. In other words, what is 10% of 18? So sometimes you might need to rephrase it. If it just says 10% of 18, you might want to write it as a sentence. What is 10% of 18? So 10% as a decimal is 0.1. 0.1. That 0 is not really needed there. And so we'll go on 1/10 times 18 and we get 1.8. So that is what is 10% of 18. So it's 0.1 times 18. Which we have written there as 1 and 8/10. What is 8% of 200? Well, let's estimate it. 8% is less than 10%, and 10% of 200, in other words, 1/10 of 200 would be 20. But since we're only finding 8% of 200 and not 10% of 200, our answer should be a little bit less than 20. So what is 8% of 200? So what is 8% of, tells us to multiply by 200. And again, to convert 8% into a decimal, we get rid of the percent sign, and we divide by 100, which means the decimal point will go 2 places to the left, and that's how we get 0.08 there. And if you multiply that, your answer is the number 16. So you're taking a small fraction, a small percentage of 200, and we're getting 16, which is less than 20, which we anticipated. So how much is 4% of 30? So how much is 4%? So to convert our percent to a decimal, we divide by 100, so we get 0.04. Of tells us to multiply by 30, so we have 400 times 30, and we get 1.2. The number 1.2, the decimal number 1.2. 1 and 2/10 is our answer. So these examples show how to find a percentage of a quantity in MTB 1370. And again, this is the end of chapter